The Lassie Talks podcast.
Hi, I'm Yvonne,
And I'm Robert.
and welcome to Lassie Talks podcast, episode 7. And we're going to talk about following me.
Following you is great. And after following you, I'll have a little health tip about getting your dog warmed up prior to exercise to avoid avoidable injuries.
Okay, right, great. Let's get on. Following me. Now, how do we help our dogs to follow us? Well, it is really transferring the value onto us. I've got loads of games to do that. It's getting the dog to think you're the best thing since sliced bread. Do you know?
So that can be done through games as well as just being such a nice person.
Thank you, darling. Yeah, it's about being a nice person, actually, because do you know, the times I've seen people get so cross with their dog, they've
Right.
shouted at them because they've bombed off on a walk. And then when they've come back, instead of being greeted with happy owners, the owners have ended up shouting at them. In some cases, I've seen them, in really awful situations. I've seen a stick being
Yep.
wielded. And that is
And
just
of course, they then wonder why the dog doesn't want to come back
well,
to
who
them.
would want to
Who
go?
would want to?
Who would
Yeah.
want to go back to
Yeah.
anybody?
Yeah, particularly if the dog thinks it can get away with it. And
Well,
of course it can if it's not attached.
to a lead.
Yeah,
and
or
and
attached to the
and then
person.
people say to me, well, when should I take my dog off a lead on a walk? That's a difficult one, because you see, the thing is, to us, the lead is our security as well. And if you go out on a walk and you see an open field, you'd love to think of your dog gambolling off, in the meadow and, stopping to smell the flowers. Well, our dogs,
Yeah,
they love
literally
to,
smelling the flowers.
we've
But
got
I
some
suspect
great
they're
pictures
smelling
for it.
something on the flowers
Yeah,
that's
well,
been left by another dog.
Yeah, but it's just lovely when the
And
snow.
I'm not sure you would want to smell that flower.
But the snowdrops were up and it looked lovely.
Yeah.
I took a picture on it.
You
I'll
did.
put it on
And
the website.
yeah.
It's just taking joy. I know it's spring now, and it's just a joyful time to go for a walk, isn't it?
It is.
But it's a stressful time if they don't follow us and if they just bomb off.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is actually practice first in the house. Now, people laugh at me again. How can you practice going out for a walk in your house? But you practice the mechanics first of getting the dog to come back.
Yeah, even that's a short distance across the room.
Exactly. So, I mean, in the house, and I throw toys and treats one way. The dog gets it. They go, wow, that was easy. They look up at me. I go, yes. And they come gambling back. They trouble the food. They come gambling back, and I throw it in the other direction. And they go, well, that was easy. And they look back at me, and I go, yes. And they come back, and they ping pong. It's a great, we'll call it our ping pong game. They ping pong us backwards and forwards, and then I take it outside in the garden.
And go a little bit further.
Yeah, and also what you can do sometimes is throw the treat. They look up at you and you say yes, and then you run away from the dog.
Yeah, then they come to chase you,
Because
catch you up.
That's
a great game.
That's their best game ever. And people say, well, how do I teach my dog to stop chasing bicycles or runners, out on a walk? Well, first of all, I say don't let them practice it in the first place. Get your mechanics right in the garden. Get them to think that chasing you's the best thing, not anybody else.
Yeah, and quite often I have seen you running the opposite way to the way the dog was going, but going, oh, scream.
I'm having a party.
You're having a party, yeah. Wait,
Hang on.
come along.
Let's
No,
not wake up the sleeping dog.
He's fast asleep.
Yeah, bless him. So, yeah, I have a party and they go, yeah, let's follow her. She's far more interesting. So it's transferring the value back onto you all the time. And, you see, dogs love, new things. you take them out on a new walk, as we know,
Yeah,
we've
they
got
love
walks that we do here regularly.
Yeah.
But if we go on a new walk, they're so much more excited. There's so more,
New smells,
new smells.
new sights, new
Yeah,
sounds.
yeah. And sometimes, something that they might think of chasing.
Yes.
Yeah. So what we've got to do is put in loads of mechanics in before we get into that situation where we know that novelty they will ignore. Now, but dogs will take notice, when you're out in your garden, say we're in the countryside here and we get pheasants, don't we? With it.
We do.
And we know
partridges and things like that.
Yeah, we know Joy loves her pheasants.
We do.
And we
Yes.
know she's had one for dinner.
Yes, we do.
And sometimes you see me screaming around the garden to chase off the pheasant, let alone to have the dog chase me, because I know that if she sees it, she will,
Want to chase it.
yeah, she
Yeah.
will want to
Yeah.
chase it. But what we want to do is to set her up for success so that, she goes, oh, pheasant, that's none of my business. I'm going to come back to you because you've got loads of fun treats. You've got loads of fun games. We can play the whippet game in the garden.
I'll have to explain whippet game because it sounds like you're going to whip her.
No, of course not. No.
I know what you mean,
Yeah,
but perhaps people listening to this podcast aren't sure what a whippet game is.
Okay. A horsewhip, right? You can make one. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy a horsewhip. We just happen to have one. And that I've attached a furlure or a squeaky toy or
whatever else floats your dog's boat.
Yeah, or one of those
toys. Yeah.
Or one of those flappy toys with the felt.
Yeah.
Flappy, it looks like birds' wings, that sort of thing. Anything, to tease the dog with, and you sort of tease it along the ground and you give that a chase, a chase. So that, and you can get one that, one of those without the whippet, but, just a lure on a very long line that you can stick in your pocket when you go out on a walk. And if you see them, orient onto prey, you give the cue, the usual, cue that you've given when they've seen a distraction. First, it's yes or, chase me, and then you start to play with it, and they go, oh yeah, I'll chase her, and then I get a treat as well at the end of it.
Yeah,
chicken's feet is
your
one.
favourite.
Well,
I'm not sure it's the dog's favourite, but it's yours.
well, we used to, and chicken necks is another thing we use as well.
Yeah,
some
a
tasty
treat that really is what we call high value.
Yes, and
not in that it costs a lot, but in that the dog thinks it's really tasty. So it could be a piece of steak, or I suppose, or something like that.
Yeah, and I've heard of stories where people have dropped their McDonald's on the floor, and the dog's come back and eaten the McDonald's.
Yeah. So
and
high value to the dog, even though it only costs $2.99
Yes.
at a McDonald's near you.
Oh, and I've had a friend who keeps on tinging me on my watch. That's Sunil.
Oh, right.
Yeah, somebody that we'll have on the show at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very interesting chap.
Yeah, he's got a dog himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been giving him tips, haven't we?
We have indeed.
Yeah. And he's somebody who he's a psychiatrist. So I'm really interested in his brain stuff. So what we want to do is think about how our dog's brains work, in this situation where they get distracted, they chase, and they don't follow us. So this is, it's all about triggers.
It's a bond, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's this getting your dog to bond with you rather than somebody else or some other dog or some other creature that's running around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can be quite difficult, I think.
Yeah, but it's
chasing is a big thing.
And all dogs have a different motor pattern. As you know, some dogs will chase more than others. A border collie, particularly, it's bred in them, a herding breed.
Yeah.
All the herding breeds, will be triggered by, movement.
Yeah,
so,
as would perhaps sight hounds, things like greyhounds and things. They're very
Yeah,
A
and
lot of people struggle with
yeah,
those sorts of
and the
dogs
sad
chasing
thing
things.
with greyhounds, we've had a client whose greyhound has taken down another dog on a walk.
Yeah,
Sadly.
yeah. Well, we've had a similar situation when our little young dog called Fred, who's lying down here by us, was out in the dog park.
Oh yeah, two
And
deer
two
hounds.
deerhounds ran him down.
Yeah,
Poor
and it
little
was
thing was terrified.
yeah.
And that did not do him and his attitude to other dogs any good. He was very stressed by it. And even though we ran to his rescue,
Oh,
it
he,
was
he
still very
screamed as if he thought he was going to
he
die.
thought he was it, didn't
And you know, I
he? Yeah.
think if he
We
hadn't,
were extremely cross with the owner of these dogs because
he said
clearly
he'd never done it before.
never done it before. Then as we walk out the park,
They
someone
said, "Oh,
else
did you
comes
get
up with
caught by
them.
those?"
Did you get caught by the two?
Yeah, they do that every time.
Yeah.
But you know, it's difficult not to get cross with other dog owners who allow their dogs to do this because they don't know any better.
Well, here we are, hopefully getting a message out there that you are responsible for what your dog does, both
And
morally and in law. And you know, you can't let your dog just do things that are going to upset other people's and other people's dogs, and maybe even worse, chasing livestock, things like that. So you must be getting that bond with your dog.
Yeah. You know, and it's very sad when, I mean, we've had clients that actually their dog's been killed out on a walk.
Yeah, terrible things can happen.
You know, and
So,
you know, that's why we're doing this, isn't it? We want to get the news out there that that you can build a bond, you can work against your dog's instinct to chase, and let's face it, they are dogs. We get so cross when they show their animalistic side, yet we bred them to do those things, and then we expect them to live in our urban societies and become, you know, a little human being with
that
fur
doesn't
on.
happen without some effort.
Absolutely,
And knowledge, and hopefully our podcasts and our webpage and everything else that we're doing will get the message out there that people can get their dogs in a good state for modern living and having a close bond and being a family pet.
yeah. And if you're unlucky enough, and I know, you know, I've had friends whose dogs have, you know, taken down a deer and killed a deer, you know, don't give up on your dog. No, give your dog a second chance. And actually, you know, and if it hasn't been, it's just been an embarrassing situation where they've, you know, terrible injuries happened. Just take it on board and say, you know, take note of it and say, yeah, I need to work on this.
Yep. And if you need, get help from a good dog behaviorist.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to say, right, I need, you know, some time off from taking my dog a walk because, you know, I've lost confidence.
Yeah.
And
very important.
Especially for those that, you know, have had, you know, some real, you know, difficult situations. And also, you know that it's affected you. Understand that it affects your emotions, and that will go down the lead. And, you know, you'll see another dog or see, you know, a situation that reminds you, you start yanking hard on the lead and the dog will go, oh, you know, owner thinks there's something wrong, so I must react.
Yeah. And then you've got a dog reactive dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's all about building that bond before you go out.
Prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely.
Talking of prevention, I must just point out, we're talking about going out for a walk and the dog chasing and things, that it's just as important for our athletic dogs to have some form of warm-up before they rush around. Injuries can happen. Joints, muscles, for a dog that is not warmed up before it does. Now, people that do dog sports know this very well, but even your run-of-the-mill, day-to-day pet owner needs to know that their dog can't go from 0 to 100 miles an hour without the risk of some damage. And yeah, we see it in the veterinary practice after the weekend.
Monday
People-
morning.
Monday morning, coming
dreadful.
in with their lame dog because something has happened on a walk that overstretched the dog. So just be aware that your dogs love a run. We love to see dogs run, but do a little bit of warm up. That can be as simple as doing some simple heel work,
Yeah, figure eights.
figure of eights,
You
that
know,
sort
all
of
that
thing.
sort of thing, yeah.
A little bit of jumping up, jumping down on, on,
It's tree stump
yeah,
or...
something not very high, just to warm them up, loosen up the joints, just as you and I would do if we were going out for a jog.
Yeah, and
Just
also...
thought that would be a good tip.
Yeah, and
for
also
people to be aware of.
it's saying, look to me, I'm exciting, I do fun things.
Yeah,
It's a bit like
do it with your dog.
Yeah, parkour. Do you remember we used to take Fred?
Parkour, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
when
parkour.
he's a poor old arthritic boy now. He's getting old.
Well, that's another topic for a podcast on
Arthritis,
arthritis.
yeah.
Big issue with dogs
Yeah.
as they get older.
Okay. Well, actually, I think we're coming to the end of this podcast, and we could talk. The cows come home. Watch out for stock when you're going out for a walk, though. Always have a dog on a lead when round stock.
No matter how good you think they are, there's just that opportunity to chase
Yeah,
a farmer's animal that could get you and your dog into big trouble.
yeah.
So in spring is upon us here, and
Lambs
are
and
about,
sheep.
and that's a danger time. So
Yeah.
yes, be
So-
careful, folks.
Yeah,
Enjoy your walks. Enjoy the sunshine.
and only let them off when you know that the area's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Know your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if you have any questions about it, walks and stress-free walks, don't hesitate to go try to get in contact with us, on our
Website?
www.lassietalks.com.
Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook. And don't forget to listen again to the
next-
Lassie Talks podcast. See you next time.
See you then. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lassie Talks. If you would like to get in touch or have any questions, then please visit lassietalks.com or visit our Facebook and YouTube page. Every dog has a Lassie's heart. So remember, we need to make our homes the best place for our dogs to be. See you soon at the next episode of Lassie Talks. Lassie Talks was recorded and produced at Monkey Nut Audiobooks.